Code Veronica is one of the most important stories in the Resident Evil franchise, while simultaneously being the least essential entry in the series. It's the only non-number sequel that would be considered a mainline title, and that's because it weaves some of the series' most important plot points into its story. You just have to sift through all the Ashford and Burnside crap to get to it. For more than a few reasons, fans really want a remake of this entry, which is, without a doubt, the black sheep of the RE series. If Capcom ever gets around to a remake, there's a few things that it absolutely needs to do. But first, I want to talk about what makes Code Veronica so important to the mythos of Resident Evil. In the early games, the overarching enemy was the Umbrella Pharmaceutical Company, which served as the catalyst for nearly all of the conflicts that our characters went through. Though Umbrella was the big bad, they were more of the enemy behind the scenes, while Albert Wesker was the antagonist that was right in front of us. Now, if you've been playing Resident Evil for a while, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But if you've only played the modern day titles, then that name probably means absolutely nothing to you. And that's exactly why Code Veronica is significant to the overall story of Resident Evil. So, flashback to the first game. In 1998, Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Albert Wesker, and the rest of the STARS Alpha team were sent into the Arklay Mountains to investigate the disappearance of their Bravo team, who were in turn investigating a series of crimes in that area. Resident Evil 1's big twist was that the captain of Alpha team, Albert Wesker, turned out to be a double agent for Umbrella. At the end of the game, Wesker released the bioweapon known as the Tyrant in an attempt to take out the remaining STARS members, but he's betrayed by the monster and left for dead, while Chris and Jill managed to safely escape the mansion before it explodes. Crazy stuff. Just under 6 months after the events of the Arklay mansion, Claire Redfield is lunged into the events of Code Veronica, where it's revealed to the audience that Wesker is still alive.
But wait, there's more.
Did I mention that I was a Power Ranger? So not only did Wesker survive this, but he's also an easily distracted superhuman now. It's explained that him being infected with a prototype virus, plus reaching a near-death state, activated his inner matrix. Not only does this show us that Wesker is very much alive and going to be a much bigger problem than we originally thought, but it also establishes the rivalry between Chris and him. A rivalry that would eventually serve as a major plot point for future RE titles, namely 5, where Wesker and Chris settle their beef, and 6, where Wesker's son fights alongside Chris. Imagine going into Resident Evil 5 Remake without any of this information. The story would make absolutely no sense, if it ever even made sense to begin with. Whoa, real quick. A bunch of people on my video about Jack Baker from RE7 seem to think that Resident Evil has never been scary.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Personally, I don't agree at all. Pause the video right now and comment down below and let me know what your scariest RE moment was. I already know what mine is, but I want to hear yours. Alright, back to the video. While it may not be as important or as acclaimed as RE4, Code Veronica is far from the worst in the series. I'd even go as far as to call it a flawed gem. I wouldn't call it misunderstood or anything, but there's definitely a lot of valid complaints levied against this near-forgotten entry. Honestly, Code Veronica's biggest problem is that it's a filler story with important canon mixed in for fun. A remake is a major opportunity to do this game some justice. There's a few things that this story desperately needs. It's a given that the dialogue, visuals, and controls will all be modernized, but the story also needs to be reworked. It doesn't have to be from the ground up by any means. The plot of Claire chasing after Chris and ending up trapped on an island where she and a fellow prisoner have to escape is a really cool idea, especially when Chris finally catches up to her and we get that long-awaited Redfield team up for the very first time. There's tons of payoff for longtime fans, and there's plenty to work with when it comes to the characters introduced in Code Veronica, but the Ashford twins need to be scaled way back. Resident Evil has always been campy, but some of the things that they say and do is a little over the top.
I am Alfred Ashford, commander of this base.
Oh? You must be one of Umbrella's lower level officers if you're in command of a backwater base like this one.
How dare you!
Secondly, Steve Burnside. Yeah, anything that isn't what he was before would be miles ahead of his original counterpart. He's far too whiny and felt much more like a little brother than an actual love interest to Claire. Also, does Claire really need a love interest? Thought she was looking for her brother. Let's focus here, Claire. Finally, we need more Wesker. He felt like more of a cameo every time he appeared than a major threat. I get that Alfred and Alexia are supposed to be the main antagonists, and it's supposed to parallel Chris's relationship with Claire, but Wesker's role could be expanded upon in a lot of ways that don't take away the spotlight from the Ashfords, like callbacks to the first RE game, or tighter cohesion to already established lore in the remakes. Something that gives him more of a role to play than toying with Chris for funsies and trying to steal the T-Virus for himself. Oh, and I literally just thought about this. This is our only opportunity to see Chris without being on steroid in the HD universe. We have not seen that yet. So, lock in. And one final thing that needs to be fixed about the story. Claire could have had Leon reach out to Chris all this time, yet she went to Paris on a hunch to try to find him. This makes Claire look stupid for not doing that in the first place, and it makes Leon look like a D-bag for not volunteering to do it sooner. A Code Veronica remake is certainly a risk, but it could be a major W for Capcom, just like the other recent remakes. Though, it needs to be handled carefully. They need to have respect for the original and improve on it where they can, and leave things be where they can't. As we've seen, fans are not too keen on removed content, hence why so many hail RE1 as the perfect remake in gaming history, because it only enhances the original experience without cutting content. Since RE4 Remake had a Wesker teaser at the end, an introduction into just who Ada's been talking to and taking orders from all this time, and what his motivations are, really going to be important for newer fans. Though RE4 Remake takes place way after Code Veronica, so who knows what the hell Capcom's even thinking right now. But honestly, if a remake of 5 is in the works, Code Veronica needs to be remade first. It's tied so heavily into 5's premise that it would be extremely jarring without the pre-established knowledge of everything that happened previously. And that's what makes Code Veronica so important to the series. But we'll see what Capcom decides to do after Requiem. Speaking of which, what do you think of Requiem's trailer so far? Also, what are your thoughts on the original Code Veronica, and what do you think a remake would need? I'm looking forward to yapping with you guys down in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed the video, why not hit the like button and share it with your friends? But I'm out of here. Thanks for watching.